Dude, I fucking love trains. Look at that shit. There's a caboose. They can carry coal and stuff. Anyways, today we're talking about Phantom Hourglass. This is a direct sequel to The Wind Waker. Link's here, Tetra's hanging out, the pirates are back, Nico's here recounting the events of The Wind Waker with his little storybook drawings to Link, who's just having none of it. Shut the fuck up. But then we run into a ghost ship. Tetra hops on board and dies. And then Link goes after her and dies. But then we wake up on an island and this little fairy starts yelling at us to tap our screens to move, and we get our first taste of the touch controls. I mean, it's a game on the Nintendo DS family of systems. What did you expect? You tap and drag to move Link, tap or swipe to attack, tap items to pick them up, tap chests to open them, and tap people to talk. Everything in this game requires you to touch the screen in some sort of capacity. In fact, you can play the entire thing with only the touchscreen controls, although there are a couple button hotkeys for things like opening menus and swapping top and bottom screens. Because of all this touchscreen business, we are introduced to a mechanic unique to Phantom Hourglass that I really enjoyed. Motherfucking note-taking, baby! Flashback to high school math class, little Ravioli didn't take any notes, and guess who failed that class? But you know what I did take notes in? Phantom Hourglass. And guess what game I've beaten twice? Phantom Hourglass. The whole game is designed around the ability to take notes. This leads to a lot of neat puzzle ideas, like drawing a safe path through some heavy fog, or finding a dig point by cross-referencing locations on a map. It really just gave us a handy tool to keep track of what we were doing, either for now or for later. Being able to mark down reminders and notes for yourself is an absolute game changer for both the overworld and for dungeon crawling. They also had some really cool features, like needing to close your entire DS to do a transfer of a map. How do I fold this? Some of the items were a lot of fun too, like the boomerang and the bomb shoes, both of which you could draw the path they would take, which was just a neat way to use these staple Zelda items. The dual screen setup along with the touch controls made for some super cool bosses as well. A couple of my favorites being Don Gorongo. You gotta control this little Goron dude named... Me? Goron, and use him to tackle the thing and then drive bomb shoes down its throat, and Eox, the ancient stone soldier that had you ducking between its legs, launching into the air and bashing the hell out of it with a hammer. Both great uses of the touch controls and dual screen capabilities of the Nintendo DS family of systems. However, there is a very annoying issue with the way Phantom Hourglass manages its items. It takes 1, 2, 3, and 4 taps on the screen to equip and use an item. That's like 3 too many touches. In a traditional Zelda game, you can equip items to a specific button, and in one press, you're equipped. You can, however, hold the L or R button on your DS to equip your currently selected item. It helps a bit, but it still doesn't change the fact that swapping items has way too many steps. I kinda wish you could just tap and hold the item icon to pull out a selection menu. You could then simply slide over to the item you wanted and release to select it. They could have even had some of the buttons on the console as alternate options instead of mapping them to just open menus. I mean, the touch mechanics are great and quite intuitive once you get used to them, but any fight or boss that requires you to swap items mid-battle gets a little bit tricky. Not to mention, I was playing on a totally legit console from the Nintendo DS family of systems, and not on an emulator running on a PC with a touch tablet my good friend was kind enough to lend me. Hey, Rare? Are you home? No? I imagine it was harder for me to deal with these controls because of my setup. There's a bit of a disconnect when you can't physically tap the icon you're looking at, but with an emulator I can upscale the graphics. Would you really have watched this video if the gameplay looked like this? Nope. Didn't think so. Regardless though, this was Nintendo's first crack at controls like this. I personally think they're super fun and they make this a pretty unique Zelda game. And I'm actually really excited to try that other Nintendo DS family of systems Zelda game again to see if they've implemented any of these improvements I've talked about. It'd also be really sick if they had a train instead of the boat mechanics. Speaking of the boat mechanics, a lot of people disliked how boring sailing was in Wind Waker, so they decided to just put absolutely everything. You get to chart your course with the touchscreen and then fight bad guys, jump barriers, get ambushed by pirates, visit travelers' ships, hang out with beetles, search for sunken treasure, blow up frogs, go fishing, and discover uncharted islands. It definitely makes the trek a little more exciting. Being able to freely explore the ocean without having to worry about wind wanking and steering was a great choice on Nintendo's part. On another note, this game is hilarious. Linebeck, Link's captain companion, is such a fantastic character. He's pretty much a coward making excuses to get out of scary situations, and Sela, Link's fairy pal, constantly just calls him out on his shit. There is tons of great Linebeck moments.
Oh no!
I am under the water. Please help me.
I remember liking Linebeck a lot when I first played as a kid, and it was this scene that reminded me why. And not just Linebeck is funny. Multiple people treat Link like he's a weak-ass child, telling him it's not safe and this is a chance to be a true hero. Yeah, dude. I killed the Demon King like last weekend. There's this guy who just likes to stay home and eat cheese, and this scene in the middle of a ghost ship ambush and a story about an ancient evil, and this old man's just holding up a picture book while Link is sitting down for story time. And this one, my favorite of all. Yeah, Link, there's gonna be some pretty fucked up shit going on out there. And I'm out. If you pick yikes in this conversation, Link literally just tries to dip, abandoning his quest to save Tetra. It's completely out of character, but Phantom Hourglass doesn't care. It's just here to entertain. The lighthearted tone was really refreshing after so much seriousness in The Wind Waker and Skyward Sword, and it was just super fun playing through a goofy Zelda adventure. This place sucks. I remember hating one thing in Phantom Hourglass, and that is the Temple of the Ocean King. You have to re-explore this dungeon 5 times. It does sound a little bit worse than it is. The first half you only go through twice, and the second half you go through 3 times, but on the final run you are significantly more powerful. In the temple, you're timed, you're safe in the purple spots, and your time drains when you're not in the purple spots, and you can't kill these big guys. It's not so terrible, but when you run out of time, every second you're not in a safe zone, your health drains. By the time I had gotten back through the older puzzles and reached a new floor, I was often low or out of time and then had to figure out a whole new puzzle and make it to the next save point. The dungeon itself is fine being a challenge, but the repetition of previously cleared floors on each visit was a real pain in the ass. And if you game over in this temple, all of the puzzles reset, and that's kinda bullshit. I fully understand getting sent back to the dungeon entrance and having to backtrack to where you left off like most Zelda games, but Nintendo, come on, you're gonna make me revisit this place 5 times and completely redo it if I get a game over? That's baloney. Luckily, the final run through, you've got all your tools and you can kill the once invincible phantoms for a little bit of revenge, and if you left some proper notes for yourself from the last time you ventured through here, then it's not as rough, but it's still just kind of tedious doing the same puzzles over and over. Which sucks because every other dungeon in the game is fantastic. Exploring was extremely fun and satisfying. They were always throwing cool new mechanics at you. The game being very riddle heavy made you make good use of your notes. Each island you visited had a different theme to it. Ice, not ice, Egypt. Actually, Egypt is the best island in the whole adventure. The entire thing is basically a dungeon. It kind of starts like a maze with lots of riddles to solve, eventually leading into an actual dungeon itself and ending with a fantastic boss. This is a Nintendo DS family of systems Zelda adventure at its absolute finest. Also, side note, sometimes when you walk into rooms, my emulator would play random audio clips. Wait, play that one more time? The ending also does a great job of wrapping things up. We forge an evil banishing blade, fully explore the Temple of the Ocean King, and fight an evil squid named Bellum. Linebeck overcomes his cowardice and stands up to the bad guy and gets possessed for a final confrontation. You know, I'm really gonna miss this era of Zelda. There was just so many unique ideas being thrown around. The portable titles always had something cool and unique in them. The big epic Breath of the Wild adventures are fantastic too, but I'm sad we probably won't ever get a top-down, lighthearted, uniquely controlled adventure again. Anyways, the old guy was a whale this whole time, and Link and Tetra wake up back on their ship, and wait a sec, this whole thing was a dream? Wait a sec, this whole video was a dream? Trains are f***ing awesome. Oh yeah, and Phantom Hourglass is number 10.